April is a crazy month in Switzerland. You can ski in the morning and sit under palm trees in a t-shirt in the afternoon. Today, I'll show you how to navigate the most chaotic month in Switzerland and more. Now in Switzerland we have a saying and it goes, Im April macht's Wetter, was es will. And in English this translates to April weather does whatever it wants. And that's exactly what April feels like. This is the most unpredictable month of the year. Now, to understand April in Switzerland, you have to think in regions, because the country doesn't look the same everywhere. Now in the cities north of the Alps, like Zurich, Lucerne or Bern, spring is clearly starting. On warmer days, temperatures can climb above 20 degrees centigrade. This means cafes fill up, people sit by the lakes again, and you'll start seeing flowers and trees slowly coming back to life. But it's not as stable always. 2 days later, it can suddenly turn cold again. Rain, gray skies, even snow is possible. And yes, that snow can cover the flowers that just started blooming. Welcome to April in Switzerland. Now if you go south towards Ticino or the Lake Geneva region, spring is already further ahead. But even there, warm weather isn't always guaranteed. Cold spells can still reach these regions too. Now in the mountains, it's a completely different situation. Higher elevations still feel like winter. You'll still see a lot of snow, especially in places like Zermatt or the Jungfrau region. But we aren't talking powder dream, it's more like what you'll find inside the margarita glass. Look at this showing it, look. Snow gets a bit more. So in April, you're not getting one version of Switzerland only, you get all the 4 seasons for the price of one. And if you're planning your trip right now, I've put together a free Switzerland planning starter pack. It includes 2 guides. One is basics for first-time travelers to Switzerland, and one that explains exactly which Swiss train pass actually makes sense for your trip. You can download it at switzerlandinsider.com/start or through the link below. Now, this is where most travelers mess up April. Because April is not a clear winter month anymore, but it's also not summer season yet. It's shoulder season in most mountain areas. Popular high-altitude resorts like Zermatt or the Jungfrau region often keep skiing going well into the month, sometimes even until the end of it. Now conditions can actually be enjoyable in the morning, but many stop in the afternoon because not only the snow melts, you will also melt inside your winter jackets as temperatures get quite warm on some days. Now this means you cannot just pick a random ski resort in April and expect everything to be running. Now a lot of cable cars and mountain lifts stop for maintenance between the winter and the summer season. Some mountain restaurants close for a few weeks, others maybe even 2 months, and entire areas can feel quiet and partially shut down. But there are exceptions. Lower elevation viewpoints like Harderkrumm, for example, next to Interlaken, starts opening up again. But overall, the mountains in April are in transition. And most importantly, don't expect too much greenery in the mountains. Nature looks so tired. It's a natural process though, but give it some time and some sunshine and it will look all good starting May. Now if you want to know what May looks like in Switzerland, make sure to subscribe to this channel to stay informed. Now, this is where a lot of people get April completely wrong. April is not a hiking season in the Swiss Alps. At higher elevations, most trails are still covered in snow. And even when the snow starts melting, the trails are often not maintained yet. That means you can run into damaged paths, unstable sections, or simply routes that aren't officially open. So planning proper alpine hikes in April is rather unrealistic. But luckily, lower down things start changing. Around the lakes and in the cities and in the southern regions like Ticino or the Lake Geneva regions, like March already, walking becomes much more enjoyable again. This means you can do lakeside walks and shorter hikes at lower elevations and enjoy the fresh bloom of spring flowers. So, what actually works well in April? Cities are a great option. Places like Zurich, Lucerne or Bern feel more alive again, with people outside, open terraces, and longer days. Now, boat tours on lakes are another highlight. Now, whether it's on Lake Lucerne or Lake Geneva, this is where you start feeling spring properly. So, in summary, April is not about big alpine adventures unless you want to touch snow here and there and enjoy the end of winter. Now, April is another cheaper month to travel Switzerland. And when it comes to crowds, this month is generally quite calm. There is one exception, and that's Easter. Around Easter, you'll notice a short increase in visitors, especially in popular destinations. But even then, Switzerland doesn't get overwhelmed. Now, a lot of locals actually leave the country during that time and head south to Italy or the south of France. Outside of that period, April feels relaxed. You won't deal with peak summer crowds, and moving around is very easy. The prices follow the same pattern. This is still shoulder season, especially in the mountains. Accommodation is usually easier to find, and in some areas, especially where the winter season is ending, prices can become more reasonable. So overall, April sits in a comfortable middle ground, with the downside of not too many things being open. It's not as busy as summer, not as empty as late winter, and generally easier to plan without long lead times. One of the most well-known events in April is Sachsilüte in Zurich. This is a traditional spring festival where a snowman figure filled with explosives, it's called the Böck, is burned to mark the end of winter. Now the goal here is to predict how good the summer turns out. Now this is determined by the quicker the head of the Böck explodes, the better the summer is going to be, supposedly. It's a bit unusual if you see it for the first time, but gives you a good look into one of the most important Swiss traditions. And then, of course, there is Easter. You'll see some decorations here and there and a bit more activity overall. But as mentioned before, this is a 5-day weekend where all the Swiss flee the country in hopes of some sunshine. Now a few practical tips for April. First, pack properly. Layers are essential. You can have warm afternoons and cold mornings on the same day. Bring a light jacket, something warmer, and ideally waterproof shoes because conditions can get wet, especially with melting snow. Second, stay flexible. Don't lock yourself into a rigid plan. Check the weather, adjust said plan, and be ready to switch between cities, mountains, and lakes depending on the conditions. And third, always check what's open. This is the big one in April. Cable cars, mountain restaurants, and even entire areas can be closed for a few weeks between the seasons. Don't assume something is running, always verify. And finally, use the longer days. With the daylight savings time change at the end of March, evenings are noticeably longer and brighter as well. Now, here's how I would plan a trip in April as a Swiss local. I wouldn't try to do everything. I'd focus on cities and lower regions first. Spend time in places like Zurich, Lucerne, and around the lakes. Then I'd add flexible day trips. If the weather is good, go up into the mountains where the things are open. If not, stay lower, explore the towns, and enjoy the scenic train rides we have as well. I wouldn't plan big alpine hikes yet, and I wouldn't rely on smaller ski resorts still being open. If you try to force a fixed plan, it can be frustrating. But if you adapt as you go, it can actually be a really enjoyable time to visit. So that's April in Switzerland. And if you're planning your trip right now, I've put together a free Switzerland planning starter pack. It includes 2 guides. One is basics for first-time travelers to Switzerland, and one that explains exactly which Swiss train pass actually makes sense for your trip. You can download it at switzerlandinsider.com/start or through the link below. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon around in Switzerland. Bis bald und tschüss.